We first need to know what an IOU and credit is. Eric got a lot of gold, but he don't want to carry it on his trip to USA since it's heavy and he's afraid of getting robbed. Eric asked his bank to help him. They write an IOU and give it to Eric. Eric gives the bank his gold and travel with his IOU to USA. Eric goes to one of the bank's offices in USA and give the bank the IOU and get an equal amount of gold, and the IOU is destroyed. The bank showed credibility, hence the word credit. Let's take an even more simple example. Eric wants to borrow Lisa's hammer, but Lisa don't trust Eric and demand that Eric have to sign an IOU. I don't think I need to explain the animation any further. So something has to be lent or borrowed, and the IOU is a signed promise to give that something back. Let's now check the bank. Let's say Eric need to lend some money. The bank say they give Eric a loan, but actually the only thing the bank puts on Eric's account is the bank's debt to Eric. Eric can make the bank pay the debt by withdrawing physical cash, for instance from an ATM machine. But as long as whatever it is he got stays on his account, it remains the bank's debt to Eric. Eric has also put himself to debt, as Eric signed his so-called IOU to the bank. So, as long as Eric don't make a withdrawal, both the bank and Eric is in debt to each other, but no one has lent any money. Hence, since nothing has been lent and both parties are in debt with the same nothingness, neither a credit, an IOU, or money have been created. How is this possible, you might ask? But it's actually very simple. Let's say Eric and Lisa are married. Let's say that they don't have a penny, but just for fun they create two IOUs. This is actually the same so-called IOU situation as the one Eric and the bank is entangled in. Let's say that Eric is a psychopath and only want to exploit Lisa. As we shall see that even banks share this psychopathic behavior. Because the bank is trying to create the situation where Eric is always forced to pay his so-called debt, while the bank try to avoid paying any debt themselves. This will become clearer later on. In order to understand how the banks have the same psychopath agenda as Eric with Lisa, we need to study the payment system. And in doing so, it's very important that we keep track on what is money and what isn't. This is an illustration of the two sorts of money that exists in the current system. There are two different ways that Lisa can pay Eric in this system. One is directly with cash. In this scenario, Eric gets paid in physical cash. No bank is involved in the transaction. The second method, paying through the banking system, isn't actually paying Eric anything. It's just a way for banks to swap debts. Lisa logged into her bank and ordered the bank to transfer $1,000 from her account to Eric's. Lisa Bank asked Eric's bank if they are willing to take over their debt to Lisa. Eric's bank accept taking over Lisa's bank's debt provided that Lisa's bank give Eric's bank an equal amount of digital cash that covers the debt. The digital cash is transferred through the central bank from Lisa's bank's central bank's account to Eric's bank's central bank account. Erica Bank also take over the debt which becomes the bank's debt to Eric, as shown by the animation. The only way banks can pay their debts to their customers is by paying them in physical cash since the public don't have access to the digital cash. So the physical cashless society is actually the same as Eric tearing Lisa's IOU apart and claimed that she owed him $1 million. The psychopathic endgame is the same. Separate the banks from the payment system and let everyone get access to the digital cash. And stop the parasitic banks from making non-existing loans.